Dave Palumbo here for Muscle Serpents Daily, and guys, we are going to see rainbows today, and that's not because it's raining outside, because we got rainbows hatching in the incubator. That's right, the rainbow gene, which is a recessive, albino-ish looking type of, I guess, morph. It's kind of like it almost looks like an albino and banana cross, and the great thing about rainbow is that it has those purples like that banana has, but it doesn't get spots on it, and it doesn't fade as it gets older. It's just a really rich, gene. You remember last year I produced that crazy looking, actually a few of them, super hurricane, Enchi, Hypo, rainbow babies. I sold one, I kept one, I have another one, male I kept, and I kept the female. Produced 4 altogether last year, which was really good odds. And this year, they're not ready to breed yet, but this coming season, I think those visuals will hopefully go for me. But we repeated a lot of the breedings from last year. We got even better odds this year. We hit some really cool rainbows. I'm going to show you some great combos. And I got a few surprises in there too. Genes I didn't know that were in there. Combinations that I didn't really identify properly at first. And you know what the truth is? Sometimes you just don't know what's in there. You got to let them grow and let them shed. All I can make is very educated guesses, and sometimes my educated guesses come off as a little stupid, but when I'm wrong. But when I'm right, it's even better. And sometimes you discover things down the road that you didn't even know was in there, and that's why I never sell things really quickly. I kind of just put them up, and I let you guys sometimes give me your feedback. A lot of times people give me feedback and they're right, and I'm like, holy mackerel, I didn't even know that was in there. So we're going to take a look at these 2 rainbow clutches and see what we got, and I think you guys are going to really like the look of what we got to this year. So let's take a look. All right, the first clutch we're looking at is what I thought to be an Enchi Hypo pastel het rainbow that I bred to an Enchi Hypo het rainbow female. And I'm going to tell you why I don't think that was the case. What we have here, these first 2 are very similar looking, and they're both, everything in this clutch is going to be Hypo, so, or orange ghost as some people like to call it. These are beautiful Enchi Hypos right here. They're possible super Enchi. They almost look Orange Dream. They're so nice, these guys. But Hypo and Enchi work really well together. I mean, if we didn't have a million morphs and a million combinations, probably 10 years ago, this would have been like, or even longer, would have been like an amazing combination in and of itself. These were not visual rainbows, obviously, so they're all 66% het rainbow. And I don't think that there's pastel in here, and I'm going to tell you why after though. So I'm calling these Enchi rainbows that are 66% het, Enchi Hypos, they're 66% het rainbow. Now, when we go to the next snake, that's when I start to realize that something went wrong. And I had posted a picture on Instagram, and someone had pointed out that they thought there was butter in something that I posted, and sure enough, this Hypo Enchi butter popped out right here. This was not the snake I had posted, but there's no doubt there's butter in here. That means I have several different males that are het rainbows, and I must have used the Hypo Enchi butter in here, or you know what, I might have switched someone up, and because I have a bunch of females that I bred, and obviously the daddy and the sire is definitely got butter in it. So that's a really nice looking, really light Hypo Enchi, possible super Enchi. That head is pretty pinched off right there. 66% het rainbow. So this is a really nice snake, I mean, in and of itself. All 3 of these are really nice, very clean looking, and that's because Enchi and Hypo really produce clean looking stuff. The star pupils of this, so to speak, and these haven't all shed yet, I think this one still has, are obviously, I produced 2 rainbows in this clutch, and both of them are really different looking. Now, a lot of people thought actually this one's still in shed. I don't even really want to show this one, but we'll show them both. This one is exquisite. This is the one I posted on Instagram, and people thought it wasn't rainbow. They thought it was just butter, with Enchi and Hypo, and I'm sure that's the case. But if you look at that eye, it's got like a reddish eye. Rainbows have like reddish eyes. They're kind of like an albino-ish morph. Might even be some kind of a variation of albino, but look at those purples. When you see those purples in that reddish eye, that's how you know you got the rainbow. They're very easy to spot. I produced a bunch of them now. This one is really interesting looking though, because this rainbow even though it hasn't shed yet, has more oranges in it. It's very, very different looking than this rainbow. This one has more purples. This one has more oranges in it, but there is purples in it as well. So you can see right there, there's like little purples. I don't know how, I try to take these guys outside to show them off to their best. Once again, this one's in shed. You can see that eye. But they definitely look different looking. And this one has a stripe, which would tell me the butter is probably in this one. This is probably butter. This one probably isn't butter, even though it's very light. This could be super pastel, however. So, actually, I don't know if the mother wasn't pastel, so it could have one. This could be pastel Enchi or pastel super Enchi, hypo, rainbow. And this one has butter in it for sure because of that striping, you know. But the clutch is really pretty. Look at this guy just getting in the way here. The clutch is really amazing when you look at them as a whole. I mean, it's one of the cleanest looking ball python clutches I've produced. I just absolutely love rainbow. And for those of you who, you know, tuning in late, rainbow's a recessive trait. It's almost banana-ish looking, but it gets better with age. It doesn't get worse. It never loses that pop to its pattern. It doesn't fade. It might change color a little bit, but it doesn't lose its patterning like banana does. Now let's look at another rainbow clutch I hatched out a couple days later. All right, now this clutch is a little different. This clutch was a Hurricane Enchi Hypo Het Rainbow that I bred to a Super Enchi Disco Het Rainbow. So it's a slightly different outcome here, obviously. This snake, to me, looks every bit of a Enchi, obviously, because the mother was Super Enchi. And, you know, obviously, it's 66% Het Rainbow, but it's really, really clean looking, and it's different looking. And so I'm wondering if there's anything else in this snake. Same with this. If you look at this snake, let's get this guy back here. This one's got a lot of like weirdness going on here, which tells me that this could be Hurricane. Now you gotta remember, Enchi unravels Hurricane a little bit. So a lot of times when you have Enchi and Hurricane together, you can lose the Hurricane patterning and it gets reduced to like these swirls get reduced to these little dots almost. So I would be very, very apt to think that this was Enchi Hurricane Het Rainbow, and that this one, which is a little lighter, could be also Super Enchi, maybe no Hurricane, because Hurricane is darker. So this could be Super Enchi, 66% Het Rainbow, and this could be Super, or just Hurricane Enchi, 66% Het Rainbow. Now, there could be something else in there. I'm going to talk about that in a minute, why I'm mentioning it. Then, after I see these guys come out, the third guy to hatch out is this freak. And when I say freaks, I mean freak. I'm like, what the heck is this? This is obviously not a visual rainbow. It's pretty obvious. Now, there's also another gene we didn't discuss, disco. Disco could be in here too. Disco is like fire, and it does make things a little yellower. And as it gets older, it'll get even more yellow. So these could have disco in it too, not sure. But when you look at this snake, this smells and this reeks of the hypo. Now we know the father is hypo, but the mother was not hypo. Not by any means that I knew of. I'm pretty sure now, I'm pretty convinced that mother was het hypo. Now, the original snake that I had, where I got my original rainbows from, I did have, my original male was a hypo. But I got a female with him that I didn't think was het hypo, but it looks like she was because I bred hypo to the female who supposedly wasn't het hypo, and I got a hypo here. So this is a hypo Hurricane for sure. With all this busyness here, those are the Hurricane swirls. And of course this is Enchi, and this actually might even be Super Enchi because obviously both parents had Enchi, and the one parent was Super Enchi, so you're gonna definitely get at least one copy of Enchi. So I'm calling this Hurricane Hypo Enchi, possible disco even here. I'm not really good at spotting disco, to be honest with you. I know it's like, almost looks like fire a little bit, but we're gonna have to, usually, you know, the fire disco gene gets better as you get older, and it changes the pattern, it changes the coloring. So we'll have to see how that progresses. But this is definitely hypo, which means that the mother was het hypo, which means that these guys could be hypo, but I don't think they're hypo. They don't have hypo look to them. This one definitely looks hypo. Now, if we go one step further and we look at the visuals, I produced another 2 rainbows in this clutch, just like in the other one. So we hit really good odds because I was breeding het to het, which probably should have gotten 1, but we definitely beat the odds. And if you look at these two rainbows are exquisite. Way different than the ones I just showed you, right? Different genes. We have disco probably in these. Look at this orange in here. Whoa. These are just really purple looking rainbows. I'll compare the other ones from the other clutch to these in a minute. Look at these rainbows. So these are 100, these are definitely, obviously, Enchi. I think they're both super Enchi. Look at the pinched off head. The head stamp is completely separated from the rest of the body. Whereas if you look at these other snakes, that's not the case. I would say these are both super Enchi because they both have the disconnected pattern. I call them super Enchi, which is why they're probably so colorful. Rainbow. Now we have a possibility now, knowing that there's a 50% chance of getting a hypo in here, that one of these could be hypo or both as well. And that's kind of be hard to tell until this one's a little lighter than this one. I'll have to see how they shed and how they look, but there's a very good possibility that we also have hypo in here. And I've produced hypo hurricanes last year, so I kind of know what they look like. And I wouldn't be surprised if both of these are hypo. But, you know, one of the ways to tell is when they shed out hypos, they leave a clear, transparent shed. It's not always 100%, but it's definitely a good bet. I mean, but these guys are really, really nice. And luckily for you guys watching, there's going to definitely be some hurricanes being sold this year. Last year I only sold 1 because I just really didn't have the ability to, I didn't want to let it go. I wanted to keep them for myself. Now, because these are both possibly super Enchi, which I think they are, the hurricane aspect of this, which we didn't even discuss yet, I believe these are hurricane too. If you look at the swirls here on the sides, the side pattern, I believe this is hurricane. I believe that the Enchi has just reduced it tremendously. I actually believe this one to be hurricane too. But a little bit less apparent. But imagine if this could be hypo hurricane, and that could be wiping out those. You see, we have like these little markings here, and those parallel dots usually indicate that there's something going on here. Once again, when you have Enchi and Spruce Super, especially in the super form, you're not going to see the hypo. I mean, you're not going to see the hurricane as much, and that's why you're seeing what you're seeing here. I believe this is 100% a hurricane. This one, I'm not so sold on hurricane on this one, although I definitely see all these lined up dots here too. So look at that, yeah. I would tend to think that they are. That's why they're so purple. You know, if you think about it, hurricane is dark. When you take away dark, and we're using some kind of an albino-ish gene, which this obviously is because they have red eyes, you're going to remove melanin, and that black or dark is going to turn purple, and that's why you don't see those dramatic purples in the other clutch. Now let's put these away, and I'm going to pull out all the hurricanes and all the rainbows. Okay, here's our 4 rainbow. Look at the difference between these, and really the only difference in genes are possibly hypo, okay, because we know these are all hypo. These could be hypo. We know these are super Enchi. These are probably only single copy Enchi, or maybe not at all. There's definitely probably butter in this one, maybe butter in this one as well, which really lightened it up a lot more. And these could have pastel in it too. So and these haven't shed yet, but these, if you look at the pattern, look at how dark and pronounced these patterns are, and that's the hurricane showing through. The hurricane really, really makes the purples pop. Whereas when you don't have the hurricane in here and you put butter in there, which basically removes pattern and color a little bit and like lightens stuff up, almost like a hypo gene would. And then on top of that, you have the hypo gene, you're going to get a much lighter looking animal with less contrast than you have here. And you can see the difference. And these are all rainbows. This one's in terrible shed. I'm almost embarrassed to show it, but it's okay. We'll show it again when it sheds. So 4 rainbows here. We hit another rainbow in another clutch. I showed you, I think I might have put it on my Instagram, or I don't remember if I put it in video. So far we're doing good. We had a really good rainbow season. I produced a lot more visuals than I did last year, and that's always good with different combinations. And hopefully this year I might even get some of the rainbows I produced last year to actually breed the males, and that would be awesome. So great project. If you want to get involved, you don't always have to get the visuals, which are going to be obviously more expensive, but you can get involved with some of these 66% het rainbows that are beautiful with the hypo gene and disco gene and all the other crazy stuff that's in it. And that's what makes snake breeding exciting. Sometimes making your own from nothing, you know. I told you guys the story. I had a visual super Enchi hypo rainbow, and that male, I bred him to a lot of females, but he died, you know, and I was heartbroken. But I saved every baby from every clutch that was produced. I still have I didn't sell one of those, all the 100% het rainbows I have. And I bred them, and you know, and now we're producing great looking combinations. So you gotta have vision and you gotta stick with it, and you just can't quit. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for today. I hope you really enjoyed looking at all that rainbow stuff. You know, I'm amazed every time I see a rainbow combination because they're so cool. And whenever I see those red eyes, I'm like, that's kind of weird because they're not T-negative albinos, not by any means, because they're still, they look like T-positive-ish, you know, type of, but they got less melanin, they got the purples and the whites in there, but they got the red eyes. It's so weird. It's such a, rainbow is just such an untapped, I think, morph. And I'm going to be working with this a lot more. And now that I got visuals, hopefully that might breed this year. I think I can do a lot of cool, like some, you know, combinations and some double hets and triple het type stuff that in the future could make some really cool stuff. But needless to say, I'm really, really impressed with how some of the butter and the hypo and the rainbow mixed together. And then of course we had that surprise hypo in the female. My breeding female is actually a het hypo, which may give us some visual hypos in those combinations. Hypo and rainbow go really well because the hypo really cleans up the rainbow. But then you put the dark hurricane in there and you get those deep purples. What I'm thinking is more dark into the rainbow and you're going to get even more contrast, and that's the key. To me, contrast, it's all about contrast. Colors are important, but you get more color when you have contrast because you can see the difference. Sometimes when you dilute things down too much, you almost can't see all the different colors because you don't have the diversity between dark and light. Once again, it's all personal preference. Some people like red, some people like blue, some people like black, some people like white. I like them all. I'm about all the colors and putting them all together. All right, guys, you know what to do. I hope you're having a great week. We're gonna hit you with one more video tomorrow before the weekend, I hope. For now though, hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications, hit that like button. I'll see you back tomorrow morning.